Yes, indeed, everyone. As a matter of fact, just before I start, if you guys can pick me up on this as well.
Oh, on the phone.
Yeah. Or go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Right. And see if you can find me in the place to be. We're just getting ourselves organized here. Last week we was broadcasting from Delaware. This week we're broadcasting from Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm in a hotel really right now, and we're getting ready to start our lesson. I'm about 9 minutes early, so I'm procrastinating for time as well as we get organized. I had a pair of headphones if you needed to put them in here. They're in the car. Forget it. Huh? You can watch. No, I'm saying if you can hear me.
Yeah, no, hear you
fine. Okay. So let me make sure I have the times right. Don't let me start on time as well.
That's right.
I don't see the clock.
7 minutes.
7 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So with this little pre-7 minutes that we would normally be playing music or dropping a video in that sense, let me give you a little bit of what's going on right now. For those that actually popped up early, there's only a few of us here as well, which is good. Surprise. Few things. One, you guys should know that I've begun another album project. Ooh. And I'm always looking for beats, always looking for ideas, things like that. Of course, I write my own rhymes, but those, I love to surround myself with creativity, especially during times like this. And I'm usually surrounded by all types of talented people, which is why, I don't take the whole credit for my career unto myself. There's all types of people around me with talent. And so when I begin a project like this is going to be my 24th album, okay? When I begin a project like this and surround myself with talented people like that, I usually put the word out. Very few people really respond. I will say that as well. Very few people respond. Artists, I call everybody this one, that one, the other. Everybody's somehow busy or whatever it is, or intimidated. But whatever it is, very few people actually respond. Those that do are the ones that have something in their hand, ready to do something, got booming beats or, whatever it is. And so I'm saying this to say that I've started a new album project, and those that want to send beats, matter of fact, I'll how do I receive those? MCKRS, right? Okay, well, Simone has given us the okay to give out MCKRSONE at Gmail. That is MCKRSONE at Gmail. MCKRS1 at Gmail. Send your beats there. Send ideas there as well. MC as in the letters. MC as in the letters. Sun-One screaming from the background. Right. MCKRSONE at Gmail. Just make sure you got that. Send beats, ideas, things like that. You definitely get credit, maybe some money as well. See what we can negotiate on that level. But take advantage of the idea of the concept. To be my 24th album. Those that are on this call, you're the only ones that I'm really putting this call out to. Sure, like I said, I put a broad call out, but that's even still private to those who have access to KRS-One in that way. So you got that. Moving even further, I was thinking about, maybe we should get on this in terms of the organizational calls that we have on Mondays. But I was thinking seriously about August 11th. this year coming around, August 11th. Now, last week we talked about this briefly, but let me just go over it real quick. The idea is that 2023 will be 50 years of hip hop. It's hip hop's 50th anniversary. If you start from 1973, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, Cool Herc, Cindy, Pebbly Pooh, Timmy Tim, Clark Kent, and so on. If you start hip hop there with 73, well, 2023 is its 50th year. And this 50-year anniversary of hip hop is important to us because not only is it nostalgic, a 50th year anniversary, but it gives us 50 years of experience and knowledge and 50 years of tragedy and birth and victory, success and failure. And because we are the first hip hoppers in world history, we are the first hip hoppers in world history. It is so important that we gather these stories and more importantly, the lessons from these stories and create our body of knowledge that the future will rely upon for their identity, for their guidance, for their peace of mind, basically. So this 50th anniversary is, that's the theme of it, basically, to recap and take a look at what we've been doing. We've been interviewing, some of you didn't know, we've been interviewing hip hop pioneers of all sorts. We started a couple of months ago and have been collecting interviews from prominent hip hoppers in world history, people that are known to have contributed major portions of hip hop's elements to the culture. We've been interviewing them and getting a more updated now explanation as to what hip hop is and was. And keep in mind too that stories change. That's why you got to keep doing them every 10 years. You got to keep doing them because, pioneers change their stories. Ugh. People remember stuff they didn't remember before. People forget stuff they said 10 years ago and so on. So those of us who are really writing down and capturing hip hop's real history, this 50th anniversary is very important to recap recap, basically building our body of knowledge, an accurate body of knowledge regarding hip hop. And so this is, of course, the uniqueness of the temple of hip hop, and of course the work that we actually do. We're going to talk about that today. I'm sorry.
12 o'clock.
Okay, it's 12 o'clock. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about real hip hop and what that really means. It's 12 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and just start the lesson. Those that are just tuning in now or tuning in on time, make sure you log in. Wait a minute, hold on one second. The attendance is, we can't do it right now. So how should they do that? You don't have to hide from the camera. I know your hair's not done, but maybe it is. We're just organizing the attendance. Sun-One said we're in a different the way we normally organize ourselves. We're here in a hotel room, getting it started, getting a fiery lesson started about real hip hop. So as you can see, Sun-One is actually putting into the computer just a way for us to be able to take attendance. Remember, that's very important. Those who take each and every one of these courses, you are becoming a hip hop cultural specialist right now. And your attendance does matter at the end of the course. When we finish the book right here, your attendance does matter. It means you read the book with us. Well, for some of you, again. But for most of us here on this call, this is your first time reading the book and studying it with us front to back, from front page to the last page. And this is what makes you a hip-hop cultural specialist, that you've joined in on that. So now you're going to see at the bottom of your screen the attendance check-in, Gospel of Hip Hop. Make sure you go ahead and put your name into that so that we can take your attendance and know that you was here with us as well. So like I said, we are talking about, well, actually, we're talking about a bunch of things. The lesson we're going to read from today is called Real Hip Hop. And this lesson talks about real hip hop. But I have to give a little preamble to this real quick, because normally I would have my PowerPoint presentation, and that'll happen also as the future rolls out. I'll give this again in a deeper way. Those that have you know what, too, you know what, so I need a better pair of glasses. They're in my bag, because of these blue glasses. Yeah, these are blue. This is crazy for me right now. Simone's just gonna go get me another pair of shades. I don't like this blue. I don't know how I pulled out a pair of blue glasses, but somehow that's what happened. Go ahead and turn your Gospels to page 58. Page 58 is called The First Overstanding Real Hip Hop. Oh man, this is gonna be a good one today, y'all. This is it, because this is really where the power lies. This is where the power really lies here when in the study of hip hop. I'm not going to read the whole chapter today. We're going to take it up probably to about well, I'll bring you in, but it's taught in sections. Regardless, when we teach this lesson, it's taught in sections, and you'll see in the writing how the writing sections off certain lessons and so on. So I'm reading the first part of that section. It's we're going to start from page 58, and I'm probably going to go to page 67. As a matter of fact, I will go to page 67. I'm going to stop at paragraph 46. Stop at paragraph 46. Thank you, G. Simone. Yes, I have been saved by my wife. I can see now. This is out of here. I got a brown pair. Let me get this done. Hold on, real quick. Okay. Yes, this is a little better for me. Yes. So, just before I start this, for those that are just tuning in, let me just give that again. For those that are just tuning in, welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation society. Actually, I should say the Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation ministry, archive, school, and society. We are about the preservation of hip hop, but our approach to that preservation is unique to our temple. We believe that we are hip hop. Therefore, to preserve hip hop, we are preserving ourselves, the hip hopper, or yourself, the hip hopper. To preserve hip hop, we are preserving you with a knowledge about yourself, about ourselves as hip hop. The Temple of Hip Hop started in 1996 when I realized I am hip hop. I wasn't just doing hip hop, but that I was it. And this was a spiritual enlightenment, or should I say endarkenment. This was a spiritual enlightenment in which I realized a higher way to be, not just think, but to be. And that higher way to be is what manifests myself as Krs-One. No one hooked me up with anything. You know what I'm saying? I've had help all through my career. Don't get it twisted. But the basic, the essence of what makes me me, nobody gave that to me. I was born with that. Experiences came, added to that. Things had to mature and come out of me, so on. This is that part of the spiritual awareness where as you grow and mature, you discover things about yourself that you didn't even know existed. Like right now, you're walking around with a jewel in your pocket that you're not going to know. You don't even know. You're reaching for right now. Y'all reaching for your pocket. Where the jewel at? Okay. But you're not going to see it until, like, say, for instance, you're 20 years old. You're not going to see it until you're 40. You know, and some people throw their jewels away at 30. You know, to be able to stand for 20 years on one path until finally the jewel falls out your pocket at 45. You know, you was 20 when you realized, yo, I got a jewel in my pocket, but I just don't know where it is. I don't know. I know there's more to me than what I'm presenting myself at 20 years old. I know there's more to me, but you're searching, you're trying to find, you're looking, you're this, you're that. And in that look, if you can stay on that path, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, the 30th year, the enlightenment comes. 30 years. One day you're mopping the floor, not even thinking about it, and suddenly, boom, I am hip hop. And it always comes when, you know, it never comes when you're meditating. Enlightenment never comes when you're praying, when you're meditating, when you're in some sort of trance state. Nope. It's right where you are on your way to work. And you just like, you know, let me just go do this real quick and just do what I gotta do. On your way to work, you in the elevator, going upstairs to the office. Bam! Boom! Right there, that's it. I am hip hop. I've realized that what I am presenting to the world, I am. And I have to take responsibility for how that looks and sounds in society. So this is part of what we're reading today. This is the absolute essence of the temple of hip hop. And of course, we're going to do a lot of highlighting because this is where the study actually begins. This is where the study actually begins. And so let me just begin now. Those that are now tuned in, let me now begin. And I said something earlier that we are the first. We are the first. Meaning that we are first generation hip hop. All of us on this call, everybody, we're all first generation hip hop, especially those of us that are 50 and 60 years of age. Those of us who were there in 73 and in the 70s, 80s, 90s, so on. We are first generation hip hop. There was no hip hop before us. We are the first, okay? And so because of that, we have a responsibility to everyone who comes after us. This is what it means to be conscious, not just of your time and your space, but of your past, meaning your ancestors and their intents. And are you carrying the intentions of your ancestors with you into the present? And then the future, who you don't see yet, and you don't see the results of your work going into the future. This is what being conscious is all about. I am aware of my space and time. As a matter of fact, I'm outside of space and time, so I can see past, present, future. I can see up, down, right, left, and forward and backwards. I can see all of that because I've stepped outside of it. So we are the first. And because we are the first, we have this responsibility. That's number one to realize. Another point to realize with this lesson is agreement. This lesson, the real hip hop, the first overstanding, is about agreement. It's about agreement. Agreement is more important than knowledge. Did you hear me? Agreement is more important than knowledge. especially in the building of culture, in the building of nation, in the building of any group or community, even ideas that need to be brought together. Agreement is really what is important, even more than knowledge, and that's what real hip hop is also all about. It's all about agreement. It's all about agreement, and know that I want to stress this real quick, because this is a body of knowledge and a body of true knowledge. But it's not really about the knowledge. When you're studying real hip hop, or you're studying hip hop from a cultural point of view, which is what we're doing, it's not about the written text. It's not about this. It's about the agreement with this. That's why we have a book, so that we all can read together. Now, the point to being part of our community, part of our society, hip hop society, hip hop, part of the hip hop nation, is that you agree with the character laid out in the book. The book gives you a chance to say, this is what Krs-One is supposed to be doing. The book gives me a chance to say, this is what you are supposed to be doing. The book gives others that are not hip hop a chance to say, oh, this is the real character of hip hop. This is their intentions. This is the character. This is what they are really about. So we have a foundation to stand upon. That's for everyone outside of hip hop. And of course, for those of us that are hip hop, we have a firm foundation by which to stand upon, a character to stand upon that our children can survive from. As you can see, this is not about entertainment. This is about the building of real culture and what it takes to actually be that, do that, have that. So remember, agreement is more important than knowledge, and that's why we're reading from this. This is our agreement. This is not some mystical book coming out of the sky. I know, we call it the gospel of hip hop, of course, because it's the good news about hip hop, but don't get it twisted, okay? This is not about angels and demons and whatever falling out the sky. This is agreement. Once we have agreement, we have unity. And once we have unity, we have existence. We have existence. People can look at us and say, oh, I know what that is. And so, I'm just looking at my notes here. Right, and this part here is what I'm gonna have to go back on when I get my PowerPoint together, when I'm back in the studio and can deliver my full PowerPoint. I was going to discuss the first stages of real hip hop, and this is what this means, because we're now getting into the lesson, the first understanding real hip hop. What does the term real hip hop mean? The term real hip hop. Well, the term real, which I'm not going to dig deep into here, and some of you who have already taken this lesson, you've heard me say this already. So this is the privilege of those who have already heard this lesson, and so on. So I'm just going to breeze over it. The term real, okay, to approach the term real, for real, you have to approach it from an Eastern and Western point of view. Now, these terms, I'm start introducing terms, and when I usually introduce terms or speak of terms, we pull it right up onto the screen. I'm in a hotel room. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I'm doing my thing here. But the etymology of the term real, it starts with how two different communities are viewing existence. Western is usually symbolic of European society and thought. They say that's Western, or the West, mostly European philosophy and thought. Eastern is usually the Mediterranean, Africa, Asia, and that thought. When you look in the dictionary, Eastern is in relation to Western. Eastern is the Byzantine Empire of the Roman Catholic Church, of the Church of Rome, when Rome split and had a Eastern Christianity and a Western Christianity. The Eastern Christianity was black folk, the Western Christianity was white folk. And this is where you get this idea of Europeans being associated with Western philosophy. And we really don't hear much about Eastern philosophy. And when you do, it's mostly India, Asia. Africa is usually never included in that, and other places of the East are usually never included. But I give you this little piece right here so that you understand what it is we're talking about, but you understand what we're talking about. So I mentioned this first because what we're looking at when we say real is we're only getting the Western perspective. We're only getting the perspective of European philosophers on what existence is. Now, here's the difference. The European philosophy on existence is that what is real is what is detected by your five senses: smell, touch, taste, sight, and hearing. If your five senses do not detect it, if it can't be smelt, tasted, seen, heard, or touched, it's not real. Okay, it's not real. It does not exist. Now think about that for a minute. If the five senses cannot relate to something or touch something, I mean touch, because you have sight, hearing, smell. If your five senses cannot detect a thing, it is not real in the Western paradigm. Real also in the Western paradigm deals with objective existence, meaning that you are not real until someone else recognizes you. That existence is based upon someone else recognizing you, not you recognizing yourself. You recognizing yourself is not real. You don't exist. In the Western paradigm, you don't exist. What exists is, or should I say, when you exist, is when someone else recognizes you. Then you exist and you are real. Now, this is the Western paradigm, and this goes into subjective and objectivity as well. The subjective approach to yourself is not really given any honor or respect in that way. Subjectivity. Objectivity is what is given the respect. Objectivity is out there. The object is what is real. The subject is not. The subject is only in your mind, and what's in your mind ain't real. So keep in mind that these Western concepts lead to things like love not being real, justice not being real, because you can't touch love. You can't touch justice. You can't smell charity. These things, these are principles. And you can begin to see the disregard for the deeper principles of life from the Western perspective, from that church perspective. And of course, I'm not dissing nobody church. We're just talking straight truth right now. That's it. Verifiable facts. You can go look this up. But I have to get this out because for you to understand what real is, see, that's what we're talking about. What real is, you have to realize you're asking that question in a Western environment. So real for the West, real for Europe, is objectivity. You ain't real unless the senses can detect it. And you're not real unless someone else can perceive you. Then you become real. Now, the Eastern is the exact opposite of this. I am real because I say I am. I am that I am. You ain't got to realize that I exist for me to exist. What's in my mind is the only thing that is real. Matter of fact, we now know that to be the truth. Quantum mechanics teach, and also psychology teaches us that we are only seeing our own minds. That's all we're seeing is the result of our own mind is all that we're seeing. So look at the Eastern approach to it. We are creating reality, affirming ourselves. The Western approach is they create reality. Like the king says what is reality, and the king confirms you. Two different ways to look at what is real. So when we say real hip hop, in a Western paradigm, we're talking about how hip hop looks to everybody else. Did you get this? When we say real hip hop, in a Western paradigm, in a Western philosophy, Western culture, real hip hop is how hip hop looks from the perspective of everyone else who is not hip hop. And those of us who have gotten that lesson, you saw I pulled up on the PowerPoint, we pull up the Oxford English Dictionary, we pull up the American Heritage Dictionary, we pull up books like the Hip Hoptionary, we pull up the Oxford English Dictionary of New Words, and a couple of other Webster, we pull up Webster, to show what scholars that are not hip hop, just literary scholars writing down the definition of events, people, and places in society, what they see hip hop as. That would be called real hip hop in an academic sense, because these professors or so on are looking at us. They are detecting us, and they detect us, and they say, yes, hip hop is real. Why? Because we can see it. We have experienced it. We can see, our five senses can see it. Now, this is a trick piece right here, because hip hop only approaches your sight and your hearing. You can't smell hip hop, you can't taste hip hop, and you can't even touch hip hop. You can see it and you can hear it. And looking at that, okay, we say real hip hop. Looking at the fact that real hip hop is when other people are looking at your existence from a Western paradigm. Now go over to the Eastern paradigm, which is how we feel about hip hop. What is real hip hop? Breaking, MCing, graffiti, art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism and beatboxing. And this is real hip hop. And I'll say that this is real hip hop for us that are studying. Let me come down to a core four: breaking, MCing, graffiti, art, DJing. That's real hip hop. This is how we see. This is how we built it. This is how we feel about it. These are our friends. This is who's united with us. This is who's at the club with us. This is who's on tour with us. This is who wrote our album covers, graffiti writers and others who shot videos. And so this is our collective community. Real hip hop is not just rap music. Real hip hop is b-boy breaking, graffiti writing, DJing, meaning cutting, mixing, and scratching, and MCing and beatboxing. Big up to Dougie Fresh. I was with Greg Nice last night. Shout out to Greg Nice. We did the party. Like I said, we did a show in Charlotte, North Carolina. Mr. Cheeks showed up. They came right over. They had another show in Charlotte, North. Big up to Charlotte, North Carolina. It was live last night in Charlotte. Everybody out doing their thing. It's crazy. I'll leave that alone. But they had a show across town. Mr. Cheeks and Greg Nice. Pooh Bah was there as well. Simone, what did you say you saw? Sadat. How can I forget Sadat? Remember, I was with Sadat. It was just a bunch of us last night. These are our families and our friends. This made me think about this within this lesson. That beatboxing got me off. Beatbox. Greg Nice does the beatbox, one of the originals. But this unity of breaking, MCing, graffiti art, and DJing, this unity, this agreement, is what creates hip hop and what we call real hip hop. Okay, but that's from the feeling point of view. That's from the cultural point of view. This is what we know we are. This is what we know we are. So realize what's going on, okay? From a Western perspective, real is how everyone else is looking at us. And real hip hop, you can see in a dictionary, in encyclopedias. Whenever someone outside of hip hop is critiquing or not even critiquing, defining hip hop for themselves, that is called real hip hop from a Western perspective. Real hip hop from an Eastern perspective is who we know we are. And we know that a lot of that bubblegum bullshit that they're pushing right now called hip hop is not hip hop. We know this. Okay? A couple of hundred people last night screaming. They knew it. Okay? So real hip hop, then look at it from the Eastern and Western paradigm. Now, turn your gospels to the first overstanding. Matter of fact, I'm gonna read it from this way and just read it like this. The first overstanding, real hip hop is what this is called, and I just gave you that piece at the top. Here now, the reading, and this is a short reading as well. Like I said, I'm in a hotel here, and did a concert last night, so I'm running home as well. We all are running home as well. So this will be a short reading as well. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to pay more money at this hotel, which I don't want to do, and not at this time. And I don't have to. I can actually be out. Whatever. Just sharing my personal deal with you right now. Okay, so here it is. The first overstanding. Let's begin the reading. Peace and much love, and I mean that. Matter of fact, let's take that in for a minute. Okay, peace and much love. Feel the peace, feel the love. If you don't feel it anywhere else, feel it here. Feel it right here. At this particular moment, you are at peace. At this particular moment, you are loved as a hip hopper. We are in agreement. I'm the other person on the other side that agrees with you. You're not crazy for approaching hip hop like this. I agree with you. If you're crazy, then we're both crazy. Peace and much love. Know this. Like hip hop itself, the gospel of hip hop is to be lived, not just read. It is to be done, not just watched. It is to be expressed, not just studied and taught to others. Very important. Not a highlight, but very important. For when you are hip hop, you feel hip hop. And it is through the feelings and the emotions, the heart, that hip hop's inner secrets are revealed. Studying hip hop, debating hip hop, and writing about hip hop are like observing a fashionable suit in the window of a clothing store, while doing hip hop, being hip hop, and living hip hop are like putting the suit on and walking around town. There is simply no comparison. And this is what we call real hip hop. Notice the comparison here. A real hip hopper believes, be, and lives hip hop. For it is wise for a real chef to believe in the reality of cooking, and a real doctor to believe and live from the reality of medicine, and a real Christian to believe and live in Christ as examples. Therefore, is it not equally wise for real hip hoppers to believe and live in hip hop? On the other hand, why participate in something that you really do not fully be or live in? Real relates to fixed or immovable things like land. And let me go back on something real quick here. I just want to read 4 one more time. It's not a highlight, but it's important that you get this. And read. This is a shift in how you are approaching hip hop and thus approaching yourself. A real hip hopper believes, be, and live. That's in the parentheses. Be and lives hip hop. This is simple. A real hip hopper is, and lives hip hop. For it is wise for a real chef to believe in the reality of cooking, believe in cook. I believe in cooking. And a real doctor to believe in and live from the reality of medicine. This is real. And I can say lawyers to believe in the law. And of course, real Christians to believe in the Christ or believe in Christ as examples. But when it comes to hip hop, we don't believe in ourselves like the way these people believe in themselves and their expressions. And this is a cause for a lot of our failure approaching hip hop as rap music. Or I just want to be down with hip hop so that I can be famous or have money or this kind of thing. And it never worked like that. The money and the fame happened to us because of who we were. If you're not anything, there's no reason to pay you. There's no reason to even talk to you if you're not anything first. First, you have to become something. Then that whatever you became is what people are throwing money at, is where the reputation's coming from, is where your worldly success is coming from. But first, the first success is that you have to decide who you gonna be. Who you gonna be? And really, this goes for anything, really. But we're talking here about hip hop. And I'm putting an emphasis on paragraph 4, which says, it's cool for everybody else to take their things serious. So then it's cool for us to take our things serious. And continuing, therefore, is it not equally wise for real hip hoppers to believe and live in hip hop? On the other hand, why participate in something that you really do not fully be or live in? You're wasting your time. Continuing, paragraph 5. Real relates to fixed or immovable things like land. When hip hop is real to you, when it is fixed and immovable from your being, you are practicing real hip hop. When something is real, it is considered to be genuine or authentic. See, here's the key words now: genuine, authentic, original, real. See, this is where the devil starts running now. This is where the frauds start running now. These are the words that we need to really hear more of. When something is real, it is considered to be genuine and authentic. It is what it proposes to be. It is not imaginary. It is actually existing and occurring to our physical senses. The term real hip hop relates to the fixed conditions and genuine nature of hip hop as it appears to our physical senses today. Breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism are all fixed conditions of hip hop. These elements are permanent and immovable from the existence of hip hop. These elements are real hip hop. And those who promote and preserve these elements promote and preserve real hip hop. When these elements are not present in one's self-expression, one is not doing or being real hip hop. Let's just establish that. Because there's a lot of talk. Oh, this is real hip hop. No, this is real hip hop. Radio stations. This is the home of hip hop. And then everyone's claiming. But let's just get down to what it really, 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 really is. Breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing. Street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and a street entrepreneurial skill. We know that that's hip hop. When you're living it out, we know that's what it is. So if you're not doing that, you're not practicing real hip hop. And this is what has to be established. We're not dissing nobody's art. It's not about that. Maintain your maturity here. This is not about that. This is about truth and accuracy of terms, facts, evidence, retrievable data. That's what this is about. And that's why we have the book out. And that's why we're reading, that's why we're approaching hip hop in this way. These elements are real hip hop. And those who promote and preserve these elements promote and preserve real hip hop. When these elements are not present in one's self-expression, one is not doing or being real hip hop. That's just true. If you walk into a hospital and say, and start playing basketball in a hospital and say, yo, this is medicine. Well, on some level, somebody might say, you know what? Yeah, I guess playing basketball is kind of medicinal in some kind, but no, dude, you ain't a doctor. Okay, you're not here to heal people. You're in the wrong environment. And thus you're wasting your time. And that's why, we I know a lot of hip hoppers that are passionate about hip hop. You see these clowns on TV, imitating what we're doing. You know they're degrading what we're doing with the original essence of what we're doing. And you get upset about it. And you say, man, this is garbage, man. What are they doing to the culture? But what we got to realize here, now that we're looking at the truth and looking at facts, they're not doing anything to the culture. They're disrespecting themselves. And in the future, like I said, that jewel in your pocket, they throwing their jewel away. They don't even know they have a jewel. So now years later, 20, 30 years later, they're going to look back on their 20-year-old self and be embarrassed, be hurt, be guilty, be anything other than at peace and love. They're not going to have confidence in who they were in the past. And that's why it's so important. Young people listening to me right now, or older people, play this for them. Play this piece right here, cut it off and play it for them. That it's so important to live a cultural life, a righteous, a traditional life. At least have that with you at 20, okay, at 25. Okay, that is so important to live a righteous life, because when you become 55 and have to pay for 25, oh man, you see the stories on TV, on the internet, and how people, whole career is gone. Why? Because 25. That's what it was. Continuing, the true hip hop scholar apprentice is studying to become hip hop, not just to observe hip hop. How can anyone claim any authentic scholarship on something that they themselves are not and equally cannot do? Where then is your authority to teach? Our perspective on hip hop and its culture is not an objective one. We love hip hop, we live hip hop, and we are not ashamed or afraid to say we are hip hop. We are real hip hop. Go ahead and highlight that. Can I get a pen? Let me get a pen. Let's go ahead and highlight. This will be our first highlight for this lesson. Paragraph 7. Let's highlight paragraph 7. And I'll read it again. I'm waiting for a pen. I'll read it again. The true hip hop scholar, good looking. The true hip hop scholar apprentice, which is what you are, is studying to become hip hop. And if those that have their gospel, you'll notice the word become is underlined. Become hip hop, and not to just observe hip hop. And you notice the word observed is underlined. How can anyone claim any authentic scholarship on something that they themselves are not and equally cannot do? Where then is your authority to teach? Our perspective on hip hop and its culture is not an objective one. We love hip hop, we live hip hop, and we are not ashamed or afraid to say that we are hip hop. I'm outlining this real quick. Paragraph 7 is what we are outlining here. Very important paragraph here, because a lot of people who claim to teach hip hop as well, those claiming to teach hip hop, they have no credentials to do so. Most of and I say this respectfully, those that teach hip hop, I'm not dissing, I got to keep saying that. These are harsh lessons to teach, but it's the truth again, that just because you have a journalism degree or a musicology degree or, a psychology degree, anything, doesn't give you the real academic authority to teach hip hop. Now, of course, anybody can teach what they know. You've experienced something, you can teach it. But to teach something professionally, you got to be accredited. You have to be acknowledged by the originators of the field. You can't just say, Like you can say, I'm a professional basketball player. But until you get to the NBA, are you? I mean, to everybody else, and if you really got skills, you can really get that off. But are you really in the NBA? You can say, listen, man, I can speak for you in court. Well, are you a lawyer? No, I didn't really take the bar, but I know what I'm talking about. No, you're not a lawyer, though. You messed my life up. There's nobody I can run to. There's nothing. Okay, and this is what it means to be accredited. It means that there's a group of people that are concerned about the forward movement of the subject that you're studying. Accredited means that the originators of the subject have sanctioned you and said, you are the continuation of what we were doing originally. And that's why you're here. That's why this course is important, because we are the originators. I mean, just to break it all the way down to Krs-One, I'm one of the few people that were actually present at 1520 1600 Sedgwick Avenue, 1973 in the Bronx. Okay. And of course, then Krs-One's accolades. I don't have to sit here and tell you all about that. But we have the first gospel. We wrote the first sciences, Stop the Violence, everything dealing with culture and hip hop, the UN. We're at the forefront of that. Therefore, if you're learning about culture, learning about the culture of hip hop, there's really only one place that you can go. And I say that humbly. I really even say that unfortunately. But there's really only one place that you can go. And that's to the people who have done the work. And that's us. That's the temple of hip hop. We've done the work. 25 years, we've done the work. And we wrote it down. We wrote it down and wrote out the techniques for what that work meant. Not just, we grandizing ourselves. That's not what the work is. The work is about the preservation of the culture, which is about the preservation of you. You. Put it that way. Okay, that's what it's really all about. So let's continue. We just highlight 7. Okay. However, it should be clearly understood that even though we place great emphasis upon the mastery of one or more of hip hop's real elements, I must confess here as well that it is really one's love for and loyalty to hip hop that rests at the fundamental foundations of hip hop scholarship and citizenry. You get that? Okay. For there are those who have mastered hip hop's real elements, but have yet to truly love and care for hip hop itself and its future development. Big distinction. Or I'm the master MC, I'm dope, but you don't care nothing about hip hop. You're not a real hip hopper. You're not practicing real hip hop. You're just exploiting the culture or expressing your talent. You're not really in agreement that we got to preserve this. For there are those who rap, break, DJ, piece, tag, and beatbox very well, but still find it difficult to consider the real lives of those who are influenced by them. Those who are influenced by them artistically and culturally. Many have mastered hip hop's artistic elements, but only a few have mastered themselves. Many who have mastered hip hop's artistic elements still find it difficult to contribute even toward hip hop's artistic preservation. However, other hip hoppers have not mastered any of hip hop's artistic elements, but the passion and loyalty that they have brought to hip hop, their very contributions to the understanding of hip hop in many ways are more substantial than even the contributions of those who have mastered hip hop's artistic elements. This is real. For it is one's love for hip hop that truly makes one a hip hop scholar and citizen. And your love is proven within your commitment, your works and your sacrifice. Commitment, work, and sacrifice. This is love right here, or at least love for your culture. Commitment to it, works, what are you doing? And your sacrifices. It is through your works, your words and actions, that your true love is revealed. It is through your sacrifices that your true nature is revealed. The nature, name, of your true self is revealed within the creation and expression of your true self, which requires a real commitment toward the building of your true self, not the role that you may model, but your authentic self. Let me bring that back to you again. The nature name of your true self, the nature of your true self, which is the name of the true name of your true self, is not Chris. Okay, that's a name, but that's not the nature of you. Okay, the nature of your true self is revealed within the creation and expression of your true self, which requires a real commitment toward the building of your true self, not the role that you may model, but your authentic self, the building of one's authentic self. This is where wealth comes from. This is where value comes from. The building of your authentic self. Some go to college to do this. Some become athletes and train all day to do this. Others go to the Himalayas and seek out spiritual rainforests and stuff to do this. What is the authentic self and the building up of that authentic self? This is what most of humanity has had taken away. Our true nature, which gives all people the ability to govern themselves. This is what we are missing, knowledge of ourselves. Without such knowledge, we have no way of controlling and or directing ourselves. And that's the state we're in right now. Brothers and sisters out here, no knowledge of self, so they can't direct themselves. They can't control themselves. By not speaking our ancient native languages, by not eating our native foods or dressing in our native clothing or playing our native games or hearing ancient stories that pertain to us and our circumstances, combined with no clear and definitive community leadership or group plan or revolutionary scholarship, it is indeed very difficult to hold on to our ancient humanity, the awareness of our true names. Remember, when all is taken away, you can't even think about your true nature, or can you? However, we are gods. And notice, this is a play on, this is a poetry, because if you read in the gospel, it says, we are gods. But if you actually have your gospel in your hand right now, you'll notice the spelling. And this is what this lesson is all about, the spellings of things and the meanings that these spellings give off. It says here, however, we are gods. Now, when you read it, it's gods, capital G, capital O, capital D, apostrophe S. We are gods, meaning we belong to God. But notice the double, and this is deliberate, okay? Scholars have to know this. The real hip-hop cultural specialists. We are gods. But in the gospel, it doesn't say we are gods, even though we are. It says that we belong to God. We come from God. There's a power with that. There's real power with divinity. But divinity is a consciousness thing. So if your consciousness is not risen to the level of divinity, you don't experience it. They say, this is all BS. I don't get it. I don't want it. Why? Because you haven't lifted your mind, your being, your character to the level of, you haven't walked into the hospital. You didn't walk into the college and say, today is the day I'm going to become a doctor. Today's the day. Day one. I'm going to be the lawyer today. And you go through the 5, 6, 7, 8 years of school to become these things. That's what spirituality is about as well. You don't become a spiritual teacher or master in one day. Try 40 years of the same rhetoric in your mind every day. Same rhetoric. Rap is something we do. Hip hop is something we live. We're not just doing hip hop. We are hip hop. Breaking MC, graffiti, DJ, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism. La, 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 la. 40 years. After a while, it becomes your reality. And this is how reality is made. The repetition of the words you're saying. The more words you talk, you're going to see those words. So be careful what you're talking about. However, we are gods. This is now speaking to, by not speaking our native languages, we ain't got our foods, we ain't got our clothes, we ain't worshiping nothing. We had all of this taken away from us, and we got no leadership, nothing. But we are the gods. And I added the "the" in there. We are gods. And the absence of such self-knowledge is actually the trigger that sets the universe in motion towards self-knowledge. This is deep right here, y'all. This is how the universe works. The universe is not going to give you what you already have. That's imbalance. That's greed. The universe is not imbalanced or greedy. The universe gives you what you lack to restore balance. So read this again. The absence of such self-knowledge, though, is actually the trigger that sets the universe in motion towards self-knowledge. This is how the devil gets defeated every time. You took my culture, you took my food, you took my clothes, you took my language, you took it, but really, were you doing anything? No. The universe was building a new nation. Let's read on. Mystery, not ignorance, is indeed the greatest motivator toward knowledge. As it turns out, not totally knowing our ancestral past has created the possibility of starting a new and even brighter future. We can create and recreate ourselves right now. What a privilege. Look, out of straight terrorism and oppression, okay, straight up robbery, colonialism, imperialism, okay, invasion and war, disease, straight up, okay, we know what it is. But a God being can see beyond these circumstances and see what the universe is doing. All this was taken away for something fresh and new to be added. You can't add fresh and new on old and worn out. Old and worn out gotta go, and fresh and new has to come in. So, as it turns out, not totally knowing our ancestral past has created the possibility of starting a new and even brighter future. We can create and recreate ourselves right now. Not knowing is what causes one to know. Again, not knowing is what causes one to know. Again, not knowing is what causes one to know. And so, the same force that built our civilizations 10,000 years ago, seeking, searching, discovering, not knowing, is the same force that has given life to hip-hop today. This is one reason why the whole world understands our cultural language. We are the return of the original human spark that caused all great civilizations to exist. Did you hear that? Go ahead and highlight that. We're highlighting just 15, not the whole of paragraph 15, just this part right here. This says, this is one reason why the whole world, do you hear what I'm saying here? This is one reason, this is one of the reasons why the whole world understands our cultural language. Not our spoken word, what hip hop is as a being, as a nature. The whole world understands this. We are the return of the original human spark that caused all great civilizations to exist. Highlight that. From this is one reason why the whole world understands our cultural language. We are the return of the original human spark that caused all great civilizations to exist. Know that. That's the fact. That is a fact. That is the truth. And the more you come around that truth, the more your brain is going to see that truth. This instrument establishes the existence and preservation of our hip hop community. Our truth is self-evident. We must first believe that we exist, and then we must perceive the powers of our own existence. This is the agreement, y'all. This is it right here. This is how you build the country. Yeah, build the country, build the culture. This is how you build it right here. Our truth is self-evident. We must first believe, and believe is underlined, that we exist, and then we must perceive the powers of our own existence. Here now is another highlight. We're going to highlight the whole 17. Paragraph 17 is highlighted. Here's paragraph 17. The whole thing's highlighted. This instrument, the gospel of hip hop, begins the creation of hip hop's faith in itself and its powers. Notice the spellings. Our first truth must be an awareness of our own reality as hip hoppers. Notice the spelling. We must first believe that we exist if we are to develop ourselves into a strong hip hop community capable of raising our collective quality of life. Highlight that whole piece. 17. We're going to read this one more time. All the highlights get read twice. This instrument, the gospel of hip hop, begins the creation of hip hop's, and notice the other spelling in parentheses, hip hop, spelled as one word, faith in itself and its powers. Our first truth must be an awareness of our own reality as hip hoppers. We must first believe that we exist if we are to develop ourselves into a strong hip hop community capable of raising our collective quality of life. That's the agreement. This is the agreement right here. We got to know we exist as hip hoppers. And this sparks the culture. Only we can do this for ourselves. No one else is responsible for us and our spiritual cultural development. We must align our collective thoughts and actions as hip hoppers with what we know to be real for us in the material world. We must see the physical results of that which we claim to spiritually believe. Otherwise, we are living in denial and fantasy as others do. Hip hop is made up of real people and real events. We must explore the facts, and the facts is underlined here. Facts of our experiences as hip hoppers in search of achieving the truth about ourselves as hip hoppers. We must finally mature to the faith of confirming our own spiritual reality as hip hoppers. This is what KRS really means to hip hop. I am the actual historical evidence that hip hop was conscious of itself in its early days, and I am not the only one of my time. I was with many others last night. Mr. Cheeks and Lord Graham Hoover and Sadat X and Greg Nice, and we all were in agreement that hip hop is culture, and this is what we are preserving. Here now the highlight. Highlight paragraph 21. Highlight paragraph 21, the whole paragraph. Here we go. We practice real hip hop. We practice the immovable and fixed conditions of the hip hop spirit. Whether hip hop is accepted or not by those of the corporate mainstream is irrelevant. Real hip hoppers come to hip hop with no other interest but to authentically manifest it. This is real hip hop. I'll read that one more time. And notice that we're highlighting definitions and meanings. That's mostly what's being highlighted. So you as a scholar going back, when people say, well, walk me through the gospel of hip hop, or walk me through the movement to preserve hip hop, or what is the temple of hip hop? This is what you're referring to right here. I'll read it again. We practice real hip hop. We practice the immovable and fixed conditions of the hip hop spirit. You should memorize that. Whether hip hop is accepted or not by those of the corporate mainstream is irrelevant. Hip hop, real hip hoppers, come to hip hop with no other interest but to authentically manifest it. This is real hip hop. This call is real hip hop. All we doing here is manifesting us. This is our culture. We talking about us. Okay, that's all we doing here. We ain't selling nothing. We're not asking you for nothing. We're not trying to prop up something or convince you about something. No, none of that. This is us reading our gospel. We are making our culture real just by being on this call right now. You're making the culture real. And we're documenting. Make sure you get your attendance in there. I am hip hop. And upon this evidence, our culture is born. Hip hop's culture now exists factually as a real divinely guided community because you and KRS exist as its first citizens. I mean, if you really understand what I'm saying here right now, the power is enormous. Okay, look at this. Upon this evidence, our culture is born. What's the evidence? I am hip hop. That's the evidence. I am this. I am the culture. Here I am. Hello, hi. How you doing? This is hip hop right here. Upon this evidence, our culture is born. Hip hop's culture now exists factually as a real divinely guided community because you and KRS exist as its first citizens. Our unity declares the reality of hip hop. Again, our unity declares the reality of hip hop. And because we willingly choose to fix ourselves to the spirit of hip hop and not move from it, it is a fact when we say the real hip hop is over here. We said that last night. Real hip hop is over here. That's an affirmation too. We make hip hop real by authentically being it. This is real hip hop. Did you understand? We make hip hop authentically real by being it. This is real hip hop. And this gospel is presented by some real hip hoppers. I am hip hop. Wow. You know, I just paused on this part right here. It says, this is real hip hop, and this gospel is presented by some real hip hoppers. And don't think that it's just me that's presenting the gospel. It's a whole host of people. Go back to the intellectual contributors to this gospel. Some real people contributed to the writing of this. Ideas and life lessons. And it's important for our children to know that. People don't really think about it. I mean, in 50, 20, 100 years from now, ain't nobody really going to think about it. But that's why it's written here. This was put together by real hip hoppers. Not no corny dudes, okay? Real dudes did this. And that's important to know. I am hip hop. And upon this faith, our belief in ourselves as hip hoppers, we can achieve truth. Through hip hop, we have a paradigm by which to create ourselves and document our own body of hip hop knowledge and history. Now, I need you to highlight this part right here. It's within paragraph 23, not the whole paragraph 23, just this last part. Our faith in ourselves as a community of conscious hip hoppers is what we call hip hop's culture or hip hop culture. Very important. I'm going to explain that later, not today. I'll explain that next week. I'll read it again. Our faith in ourselves as a community of conscious hip hoppers is what we call hip hop's culture or hip hop culture. And notice the spelling of hip hop culture. Unfortunately, people today have grown accustomed to equating rap music and the images portrayed in mainstream rap music videos with the whole of hip hop's culture and history. And this is why we say that such material is not real hip hop. It is not authentic to the original hip hop spirit or tradition and does not represent what is actually occurring to our physical senses in the present. Notice what is real, what is occurring to your physical senses. When people put on rap videos and say this is hip hop, that's not real to the sense of the eye or to the ear or to the memory. Memory is a sense too, you know. But these senses are not, no, that I don't remember hip hop like this. I don't see hip hop like this. I don't hear hip hop like this. You're contradicting what the original is. That means you fake. Most of the mainstream rap videos of my time are imaginary tales of crime, sex, and street adventure. They are good, they are entertaining, but they are not real. And notice I did say that they are good. Okay, if you need to, you know, turn on the TV and see somebody shaking their ass, you know, that makes some people feel good. You know, who am I to judge? If you turn on the TV and want to see guns and murder all day, that makes people feel good. Some people watch game shows. I'm not pulling nobody foul out there, you know. But you know, you sitting there with Steve Harvey with Family Feud, my G. What's up? Okay. And the only reason I know is because I'm sitting there too. So I know, you know, whatever. But the point is that, you know, some people need certain things on the TV to get themselves together. And that's all we say here. They are good, you know, pertaining to hip hop. These things are good. These things are entertaining, but they're not real. That's the issue. It's not real. Okay? This is what the issue is. Real hip hop. Now, let me also stop here. We're going to highlight this entire section from 25 all the way to 29. Okay? And you're going to highlight 29. You're going to highlight 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. This whole section gets highlighted. You should memorize this. Know this in your head. Let's read. Real hip hop is real life. And it is from the experiences of our real lives that our songs, dances, our graphic arts, and our language come from. This is why we teach that hip hop and rap music are not the same things. That rap is something we do, while hip hop is something we live. And the living of hip hop is real hip hop. Let us get more orientated by taking a look at the following terms closely. Now, this is where you got to have your gospel in your hand. Those that don't have a copy of the Gospel of Hip Hop, please order a copy, because as you can see, as we're studying through the text, you're going to have to see what I'm saying. So here's the terms: hip hop, and hip hop. And you know what? Actually, Minister Sun-One gave a nice piece explaining hip hop, and hip hop. We might want to find that. I don't know. Someone you know, I don't know if you have it. You do have it. Maybe we'll pop that on. I don't know if we pop it on after this. If we can somehow find it, or just have it set up for next week, because I will be going over this next week as well. So, you know, whatever. If it can happen now, it happens now. But it's really a next week thing. But these are the three natures of hip hop. And Minister Sun-One laced us with a nice presentation breaking these things down. So I'm not going to get into them right here. I'm going to read it and explain it. But there's a further breakdown. Okay, here we go. The first one is paragraph 26. And remember, all of this is highlighted. Paragraph 26, hip hop, capital H, lowercase I, lowercase p, lowercase h, lowercase o, lowercase p, one word. It looks like high fop. It's one word, hip hop. Hip hop, this hip hop, is the name of our creative force in the world. Okay? It is our lifestyle and collective consciousness. When you're talking about hip hop as consciousness, you spell it as one word, capital H. Capital H, lowercase I, P, H, O, P, one word. That's hip hop as consciousness. Then you go to paragraph 27, hip hop, capital H, lowercase I, lowercase p, space, capital H, lowercase o, lowercase p. This hip hop is the name of our culture and artistic elements. Whenever you're spelling hip hop as culture, as a group of people, you spell it like this. Whenever you're spelling, you know, this is the standard version, the standard spelling of hip hop. The correct spelling of a culture begins with a capital H. You don't spell hip hop in lowercase h's. That's disrespectful to the culture. You don't spell American in lowercase a. You don't spell Jamaican in lowercase j, or Chinese in lowercase c. I'm sorry, China in lowercase c. Any culture, or should I say, any proper noun is spelt with an uppercase letter. And hip hop is a proper noun. It is a specific thing in the world. Plus, it is the name of our culture. So it should be spelled with a capital H. And this second spelling is the proper spelling for hip hop. Capital H, lowercase I, P, space, capital H, lowercase O, P. That's the name of our culture. Finally, paragraph 28, we get to hip hop spelled in lowercase HIP, space or dash. Here is a dash, lowercase HOP. This hip hop is rap music product and its mainstream activities. So this hip hop is how hip hop as rap music is already being spelled in magazines historically. Like if you go back to the Source magazine of the 1990s, you go back to Vibe, you go back to Double XL, you go back to even Rap Masters and Word Up magazine, even in the 80s, they're spelling hip hop in lowercase like this because they're relating it to rap music, rappers and music. Also, when you spell music genres like rock, reggae, I usually spell music genres with a capital initial letter. If I spell reggae, I use a capital R. Rock and roll, I use two capital R's in that sense. And rap, I use a capital R. But most people, when they talk about music genres, they don't capitalize music genres. They spell it exactly the way it's spelled here in the Gospel of Hip Hop. Lowercase h, I, P dash lowercase HOP. And that's music, that's entertainment. So these are the three natures of hip hop. This is how hip hop is appearing to us in the world. There are other spellings. I didn't get into that. I'm leaving that open for other scholars to come forward with different spellings of hip hop that could denote other aspects of the actual culture, of the actual entity itself. So these three spellings, hip hop, and hip hop. When we say hip hop, you will notice that we're referring to these specific spellings right here. And now paragraph 29. This is the last of the highlight section. Highlight this whole paragraph right here. With this original cultural learning system, we reveal the more real nature of hip hop beyond the average mainstream understanding of hip hop. Notice the spellings. Here, we introduce a hip hop spiritual code of conduct capable of producing enhanced states of health, love, awareness, and wealth for those engaged in the mastery of hip hop's real elements. This is the gospel, and this is what really works for hip hoppers. Now, stop here for a minute. This is why this is highlighted. Because remember, most of what we highlight are definitions and explanations pertaining to the gospel and pertaining to the temple. And here, this is an explanation as to why we practice hip hop in this way. It quote here, we introduce a hip hop spiritual code of conduct. Okay, a spiritual code of conduct capable of producing enhanced states of health, love, awareness, and wealth for those engaged in the mastery of hip hop's real elements. Now, notice that if you engage in hip hop's real elements, this little hip hop gives you a sight. It gives you a spiritual sight, a cultural sight. You are seeing hip hop as consciousness, culture, and product. Consciousness, culture, and product. You can approach hip hop like this. You're not selling your soul just to the product. You're making the product and you're making your money because you can go somewhere else. You can go into the consciousness and say, no, I understand that I exist within a collective consciousness that has nothing to do with money, material, the world, none of this. It's just I am. I am hip hop. And there's an existence there. That is an environment. That is the agreement with others that say the same thing. Then there is hip hop culture. If we spell hip hop culture in this way, hip hop, which by the way is the way it was spelled on the side of the train on Beach Street. One of the first times hip hop was spelled publicly is on the side of the train. It says, hip hop don't stop, Beach Street. Go watch the movie Beach Street and you'll see on the side of the train where Ram One, interesting enough, does his graffiti piece on the side of the train. And it's one of the first times we see hip hop publicly in a movie, in a mainstream setting. And it was spelled exactly the way the gospel is spelling it here. Big up to Harry Belafonte too, by the way, for producing and directing that movie. Let me read 29 just one more time and get through it. With this original cultural learning system, we reveal the more real nature of hip hop beyond the average mainstream understanding of hip hop. Here, we introduce a hip hop spiritual code of conduct capable of producing enhanced states of health, love, awareness, and wealth, which is the reason why we're doing this. The reason you practice hip hop is for enhanced states of health, love, awareness, wealth. That's why you are mastering the elements of hip hop. Not to get money all the time, but to get healthy all the time, to have love in your heart all the time, to become more aware, and now the wealth, to have what you need when you need it. Here we introduce a hip hop spiritual code of conduct capable of producing enhanced states of health, love, awareness, and wealth for those engaged in the mastery of hip hop's real elements. This is the gospel. And this is what really works for hip hop. Here, hip hop's real elements can be pursued and developed in any way that one feels. However, hip hop, look at the spelling, hip hop is consciousness, is a specific term that deals with the spiritual nature of hip hop. Notice the term. Study this paragraph and the above terms carefully before going forward. Remember, the gospel of hip hop, spelled as two hip hop, is the instructional book. This is the gospel of hip hop. Notice the spelling on the cover, okay? Notice the spelling, okay? Remember, the gospel of hip hop is the instructional book. And the gospel of hip hop, spelled as one word, is a spiritually lived hip hop life. This instrument is called the gospel of hip hop. This instrument is called the gospel of hip hop because hip hop is commonly spelled as such amongst the hip hop populace today. However, we teach hip hop, and hip hop so that our discoveries regarding the spiritual nature of hip hop do not contradict or hinder the free study of others seeking to uncover the nature of hip hop for themselves. We hold no monopoly on the interpretation of the nature of hip hop, spiritual or otherwise. Our understandings and approaches to hip hop are unique to our hip hop preservation society. And you know what? In a real way, why don't we go ahead and highlight this piece right here? I'm on paragraph 31, but I'm going to highlight this last piece down here that says, we hold no monopoly on the interpretation of the nature of hip hop, spiritual or otherwise. Our understandings and approaches to hip hop are unique to our hip hop preservation society. And notice the spellings of all of that in there. Go ahead and highlight that part. We hold no monopoly on the interpretation of the nature of hip hop, spiritual or otherwise. Our understandings and approaches to hip hop are unique to our hip hop preservation society. Moving on. These are our discoveries and notes, and no one is obliged to believe or acknowledge that which we believe and acknowledge as the truth for us. This gospel is what we know successfully works for those practicing hip hop. And this is what we teach. We are called hip hoppers, spelled HIPHOPPAS, one word, and not hip hoppers, spelled HIP space HOPPERS, or hip hoppers in lowercase, because we actually practice hip hop, one word, which for us is the spiritual living of hip hop, hip and hop. And you got to study that. That has to get studied. Notice I sound probably so crazy to those who probably don't have the book as well, but this is the language, this is the sight that helps you to see the actual nature of hip hop. And to see the nature, now you can maneuver and move hip hop according to your lifestyle, your real lifestyle, as consciousness, body, and expression. Our community is called, oh, wait a minute. Let me say this too. When I say we are called hip hoppers and not hip hoppers, this is, of course, technical and orthodoxy. But we are called hip hoppers in the objective, when you look in dictionaries and so on, we are actually called hip hoppers with an ER. So we accept that spelling as well, but right now we're doing the scholarship, so we're going to stay accurate. HIPHOPPAS, hip hoppers. And you could also put a Z if you want to get fly with it at the end, hip hoppers. Our approach to hip hop is indeed unique to our time. We teach that rap, rhythmic speech, is but one expression that comes out of the total hip hop experience. For us, hip hop is the combination of breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism. For us, hip hop is the amplification of human expression and awareness. At its core, hip hop is not just an art form, it is the pursuit of one's authentic being through the arts. Highlight the whole 34. Paragraph 34, highlight the whole thing. I'll read it again. Our approach to hip hop is indeed unique in our time. We teach that rap, rhythmic speech, is but one expression that comes out of the total hip hop experience. For us, hip hop is the combination of breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism. For us, the temple of hip hop, for us, hip hop is the amplification of human expression and awareness. At its core, hip hop is not just an art form, it is the pursuit of one's authentic being through the arts. For those who consider themselves true hip hop scholars, hip hop is defined as, quote, the artistic response to oppression, a way of expression in dance, music, word, song, a culture that thrives on creativity and nostalgia. As a musical art form, it is the stories of inner city life, often with a message spoken over beats of music. The culture includes rap and any other venture spawned from the hip hop style and culture, end quote. This is from Alonzo Westbrook, the Hip Hoptionary, the Dictionary of Hip Hop Terminology. And notice that what I like about this is that he acknowledges hip hop as an art form and culture. So there is that. We get lowercase hip hop over here, art form, but we also get uppercase hip hop as the culture itself. For those who live hip hop is not over there somewhere external of oneself. And there's two different spellings there too. We are hip hop. Hip hop itself is not a person, a place, or a physical thing. You cannot actually go to hip hop or wear hip hop or eat hip hop. Hip hop exists as a shared idea. You cannot drink a can of hip hop and suddenly know how to rap. You cannot put hip hop on as clothing or read a book in order to understand hip hop. Hip hop begins as an awareness, as an alternative behavior. Again, hip hop is a shared idea. Rapping, breakdancing, graffiti art, beatboxing, and DJing are all expressions of this collective urban idea commonly called hip hop. Hip hop is a new global urban understanding that communicates an alternative reality through art. Hip hop is a new faculty in the collective consciousness of urban America. Hip hop is understood psychically by those who participate in it. More than just a music genre, hip hop is an international agreement as to how all people may come together in peace on neutral ground. Hip hop is indeed a psychic true world order. We've discovered that hip hop, and the hip hopper are all aspects of the same creative force, that one cannot fully function without the others because hip hop, and the hip hopper are all really one event. This is why the Temple of Hip Hop teaches that to preserve hip hop, we must preserve the hip hopper. We're going to go ahead and highlight 39. Preserving the specific artifacts and memorabilia of rap music has its place and its importance, and someone should be doing that work. Such work is indeed a strength to the preservation of our culture. However, as a temple, we are more concerned with the essence, substance, force, being, cause, and identity of hip hop as a creative force, hip hop. Hip hop is not a physical thing or things. It is a metaphysical principle, a shared urban idea, an alternative human behavior, a way to view the world, a collective consciousness. We must finally leave the finite room of hip hop, spelled in lowercase, as rap music entertainment, and enter the infinite realm of hip hop, spelled as consciousness, We are far more than just the world's entertainment. All of that gets highlighted. 39 and 40 gets highlighted. And let me explain this to you. 39 and 40 explains what's going on right now with what you may be hearing about hip hop museums. You have the Universal Hip Hop Museum. You have some others that are having hip hop exhibits. Hip hop museumship and exhibitship is coming up within the United States everywhere. It's time. People know that a hip hop museum is long overdue. There was an event that was thrown a couple of weeks ago, maybe actually last week, I think it was. I think with the Universal Hip Hop Museum and so on, and we commend that at the Temple of Hip Hop. We go ahead and salute that as well, and to all that are trying to preserve hip hop in a museum kind of way. But this is the uniqueness of the Temple of Hip Hop, and it's explained right here. This is why you have to highlight this piece right here so that you know exactly what we are doing and don't get caught up in what other people are doing and say, oh, we should be doing that, or, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Let people do their work and be focused on your work, and together we can get a work done. So look at the specific preservation strategy of the Temple of Hip Hop. This is our specific strategy for the preservation of hip hop, different from everyone else and their strategies. Most other people in their strategies, we're not competing. We just have a different strategy. Check out our strategy. Highlight 39 and 40. Preserving the specific artifacts and memorabilia of rap music has its place and its importance. I mentioned the Trap Museum in Atlanta as well. Has its place and its importance. Someone should be doing that work. Such work is indeed a strength to the preservation of our culture, and it is. However, as a temple, we are more concerned with the essence, substance, force, being, cause, and identity of hip hop as a creative force. Hip hop. We're interested in hip hop itself, not what it produces, or not just what it produces. Hip hop is not a physical thing or things. It is a metaphysical principle, a shared urban idea, an alternative human behavior, a way to view the world, a collective consciousness. We must finally leave the finite room of hip hop as rap music entertainment and enter the infinite realm of hip hop as consciousness. We are far more than just the world's entertainment. That's our unique approach to hip hop. For us, hip hop is a mass event that was captured on record, cassette, CD, video, DVD, clothing, etc., for the purpose of selling its elements to relieve poverty. It is hip hop that inspires hip hop's elements to exist. It is hip hop as consciousness that inspires hip hop as culture, its elements, to exist. But it is only hip hop's performed elements that appear in the physical world. Hip hop itself never enters the physical world. We imitate the inspiration of hip hop through its elements. But again, hip hop, the collective consciousness, never enters the physical world. It remains a shared idea of our collective consciousness. And study this paragraph further before you go any further. So study this paragraph again carefully. This is paragraph 41. I'm not highlighting it, but this is an important paragraph here. But we are going to highlight 42. Highlight 42. For serious apprentice of the temple of hip hop is a perceptual ability that transforms subjects and objects in an effort to express the character of one's inner being. Hip hop is the ability to make physical objects and social subjects perform according to your perception of them. Highlight that. Highlight 42. This is one of the essences of what we teach, and you're going to hear this reoccurring. Hip hop as a reality maker. For serious apprentice of the temple of hip hop is a perceptual ability that transforms subjects and objects in an effort to express the reality of one's inner being. Hip hop is the ability to make physical objects and social subjects perform according to your perception of them. And to get another angle of this, see the movie we just put out called Streetlight. The movie Streetlight. Go and watch that. Watch it again, even if you've seen it already. Watch Streetlight. That's what this paragraph is speaking to. Paragraph 43. When we say, I am hip hop, the hip hop idea enters the physical world as hip hop, which is then captured on CD, etc., and sold as hip hop. And you got to look at the spelling. By becoming hip hop, by allowing the hip hop idea to dominate our being, hip hop enters the physical world through our physical bodies and artistic expressions. This expression, and for some their physical bodies, is then captured in some way and sold as lowercase hip hop. Before hip hop can even be recorded and or documented, it must first be brought into the physical world through people who have voluntarily surrendered to its force and essence. Everything else is recorded. Everything else is a recording, an imitation, or a documentation of the real effects of the original hip hop creative force. The preserving of such a perceptual ability has little to do with the preserving of its products. It has to do with the understanding of the ability itself, the essence that causes such products to exist. Now, just before we stop, I'm going to go ahead and have you highlight this as well. As you can see, we got a lot of highlighting going on here. Hope you guys are catching up. We're going to highlight 45 and 46, and we're going to stop at 46. But let me read this to you one more time. 45 and 46. Here's 45. The preserving of such a perceptual ability. We're talking about hip hop as a perceptual ability. The preserving of such a perceptual ability has little to do with the preserving of its products. It has to do with understanding the ability itself, the essence that causes such products to exist. To preserve hip hop, We must preserve hip hop's perceptual ability. We must preserve the actual living, thinking hip hopper with a knowledge of hip hop beyond entertainment. All this is highlight. All this is highlight. From our perspective, this is 46 now with the close of this lesson. From our perspective, the preserving of hip hop has more to do with the preserving of its people than with the preserving of its products. It has to do with the preserving of certain customs, traditions, abilities, and techniques unique to the hip hop experience. Such a style of cultural preservation is about preserving the essential causes that bring hip hop into physical existence. This is the essence of our hip hop preservation movement. That right there is going to conclude this lesson this week. And I'm making the lesson short, or if you consider 2 hours short, make this lesson short because as you know, we're on the go, we're traveling, and the states are opening up. So of course we're getting called for lectures, concerts, shows, and so on. I would ask those out there, even around the world, but I'm speaking to the people of the United States now that we're traveling and moving around a little bit. Feel free to bring KRS-One to your town. Feel free to bring me to your town. People don't know this, but and I don't broadcast this either. But for this call, for those that are interested in what we're dealing with, I can come to your house. Straight up, I do house calls. Absolutely. You get a group of people together. There is a small honorarium involved, but because it's such a small group, we could work something out. But, you cook dinner or something, you come through. I come right to your living room and teach the course. And if I'm in town, it would be better for me to teach from a Temple member's house than to have to deal with these hotels or so on while we're on the road. So keep that in mind as well. Keep that in mind as well. Also, in terms of the Temple of Hip Hop and helping us financially, those that want to do that, help us financially. You can also purchase these lessons, meaning that and I'm saying this because universities do this with me all the time. So why give them only the opportunity to do this? The universities pay me for my lectures. I give lectures like this online, and they're private. So, they give me the honorarium, and I give a private hip hop course based on the questions that they have, specific questions that they have pertaining to hip hop, and I answer them in this kind of format. Now, we can do that as well. I'm just offering you this service. There's no obligation in that way for me to come to your living room. But you have the option. You can reach out to us. You can go to the MC, KRSONE at Gmail. And if you say, look, I want you to come to my town, this is what I'm offering. Come to my town, talk at my house, come to my neighborhood, come to the school or my community center or someplace like that. I do make house calls. So I just want to put that out there so that you know. It doesn't have to always be a concert. It doesn't always have to be a university or 100 people, hearing these lessons. I can speak to 10 people, 5 people, 12 people, 1 person. That's how these lessons go down. It's not about all these people and the fanfare and all of this type of stuff. It's not really about that. It's about getting this lesson taught. And those that are serious about it may want me to come to their house and book me for those purposes. I'm putting that out there just so you know. So we're on the run at these hotels. And like I said, Temple members should consider me coming to their house to give the lesson there, and so on. It'll help us in terms of these hotels, and of course expenses and this kind of thing while we're traveling. So this is the lesson for today, and get it in your head. Agreement is better than knowledge. It's better that we agree. We can fix knowledge later. We can correct ourselves or modify ourselves later. But right now, in the beginning, as a foundational group, the first, We need agreement. The gospel of hip hop is our agreement. What I just read to you is the agreement. We approach hip hop as 9 elements because we're living it out. This is how we do it. And of course, we went through the 3 natures of hip hop, which we'll come back to Minister Sun-One on that. But you got to see that the 3 natures of hip hop as well. We went into that as well. So keep in mind, this is our approach to hip hop, and it's unique to us. Don't try to compare this with other people and this kind of thing. This is unique to the temple of hip hop. This is what we know works. This is what I credit my success to and the success of others. It's a character building thing as well, which unites our culture and builds our unity. This is what's important. I want to thank everyone for listening this week as well. And I'll see you next week. Remember, we start 12 o'clock on Sundays, just like now. And remember, rap is something you do, while hip hop is something we live. We are not just doing hip hop, we are hip hop. Thanks for listening to me this week. We're going out. Thanks, y'all.